Hello, babies. Tonight, snuggle up beneath your warm blankets, close your sleepy eyes, and let your hearts float gently into dreamland. I have a story just for you, a tale of a special little fruit with a big spiky coat and a heart made of sunshine. This is the story of the pineapple princess, a gentle soul hidden beneath a suit of armor, who longed to be loved not for how she looked, but for the sweetness she carried inside. Come now, little ones, and let's step into her magical garden together. Once upon a time, in a faraway land where the breeze always smelled like flowers and the clouds drifted like lazy dreams, there was a hidden garden nestled on a golden island. This wasn't an ordinary garden. It was a secret place where the sun painted the leaves with light and the moon tucked the flowers in with starlit lullabies. In the very heart of this enchanted garden stood a single proud plant, not soft like the strawberries, not smooth like the bananas, but spiky, sturdy, and crowned in green. This was the pineapple princess. The other fruits in the garden were colorful and cheerful. They giggled as the breeze passed through, they danced when the rain fell, and they chatted about the bees and butterflies. But the pineapple princess often stood alone, tall and quiet, listening to the world around her. Her golden skin was covered in tiny bumps that looked like little armor plates, and many of the other fruits didn't know what to make of her. "She looks so pointy," whispered a strawberry with rosy cheeks. "She's probably too tough to talk to," said a soft little peach. "But look at her leaves," murmured a mango. "They look just like a crown. Maybe she's someone special." But even if they were curious, no one came close. No one asked her name. No one knew that she wasn't just any fruit. She was a princess, not by title, but by heart. The pineapple princess loved her quiet spot in the garden. She watched the butterflies and listened to the songs of the birds. When the wind blew softly, she would hum along, a gentle melody that drifted like a lullaby through the leaves. Her voice was soft and low, like a secret breeze rustling through a dream. But every time she sang, the other fruits grew silent. They didn't understand her song. They only saw the sharpness of her skin, not the golden warmth inside. Then, one sunny morning, something different happened. A tiny bird with bright eyes and brown feathers flitted down from the sky. He was a sparrow, young and full of curiosity, and he landed right on the edge of the pineapple princess's crown. "Hello," he chirped. "That was a pretty song. Was it you who was singing?" The pineapple princess blinked in surprise. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. "Yes," she said shyly. "It was just a little tune I made up." "It was lovely," said the sparrow, hopping closer. "Why are you all the way over here by yourself? Most don't want to be near me," she said gently. "I suppose I look too sharp." The sparrow tilted his head. "You do look a bit pokey, but you also look special, like you're wearing a crown." The pineapple princess couldn't help but smile. It was a small, quiet smile, like a star peeking out from behind a cloud. "My name is Pineana, but you can call me Anna." "And I'm Pip," chirped the bird happily. "Let's be friends, Anna." From that day forward, Pip came to visit Anna every morning. He sat in her crown and told her stories of the sky, how the clouds raced like ships, how the stars blinked when they laughed, and how the sun always wore a smile when it rose. Anna, in return, shared songs made of wind and dreams. The garden began to change. The air seemed sweeter, the leaves glowed brighter, and even the bees hummed in softer harmony. But some fruits still watched from afar. A grumpy grapevine rustled near the garden's edge. "She's only tricking that bird," it muttered. "She hides behind her spikes," whispered an old plum. "She must be bitter inside," added a lemon with a sour frown. Anna heard the whispers, but Pip only sang louder. "They don't know you like I do," he said. "They're afraid of what they don't understand." Anna sighed. "Maybe I really am too different." "No," Pip said firmly, fluffing his feathers. "You're just waiting to be discovered. One day they'll see your heart and they'll wish they had known you sooner." And so Anna kept singing. Her songs were softer now, filled with both hope and a little sadness. But Pip always stayed close, and together they waited for the day when her truth would bloom like a golden sunbeam through the clouds. That night, as the garden settled into sleep and the stars whispered goodnight, Anna closed her eyes and dreamed. She dreamed of a time when she wouldn't have to hide behind her spikes, a time when her sweetness would be tasted, her heart seen, and her crown of leaves would shine like the treasure it was. And somewhere, in the hush of the night, the wind whispered back, as if to say, "Soon, dear princess, soon." As the soft light of dawn tiptoed across the garden, a hush lingered in the air, like the quiet after a lullaby. The sky wore a soft peach glow, and tiny dewdroplets clung to every leaf like little stars that had forgotten to go home. Anna, the pineapple princess, woke gently beneath her crown of green. Her golden skin sparkled in the morning light, and a breeze danced past her with a familiar tune. Pip arrived just as the sun peeked over the treetops. "Good morning, Princess Anna," he chirped, landing on his favorite leaf. "I dreamed of clouds shaped like bunnies and waves that giggled. Did you dream too?" Anna nodded softly. "I dreamed of being seen, not just looked at, but truly seen." Pip puffed up his chest. "Then let's make that dream come true." Anna smiled, but her heart still felt heavy. The garden was waking up all around them, berries stretching their vines, peaches fluffing their fuzz, and flowers opening like yawns. But even in this busy, blooming world, many still looked away from Anna. Some did it out of habit, others out of fear. Still, Pip had a plan. That morning, he flew from one corner of the garden to the other, singing songs of the pineapple princess. "Come hear her voice," he called. "Come see her smile. There's more to her than spikes and a crown." At first, only a few paid attention. A shy blueberry peeked through her bush. A pair of curious cucumbers slithered over with sleepy eyes. Even a sleepy sunflower turned its head, blinking slowly. Anna was nervous. She'd never sung for anyone but Pip, but when she looked at his bright little eyes full of belief, she took a deep breath and let her melody rise. Her song began like a whisper, soft as a breeze across a still pond. It told of longing, of wanting to be loved just as she was. It told of courage, of standing tall even when feeling small. It wrapped around the leaves, tickled the petals, and flowed over the grass like golden honey. The blueberry listened with tears in her eyes. The cucumbers lay still, swaying gently. The sunflower tilted even more, as if leaning closer. And when Anna finished, a soft silence filled the garden. Not the silence of indifference, but the hush that follows something beautiful. But in the shadow of the tallest palm tree, Elderberry frowned. He had grown sour watching Anna shine. Once upon a time, he had been admired for his deep purple color and wrinkly wisdom. But now the garden was turning its eyes to someone new, someone different. "She's fooling them all," he grumbled. "No one hides behind thorns unless they're hiding something more." And so Elderberry crept and whispered. He told the strawberries that Anna's spikes would prick their petals. He warned the bananas that her crown might steal their spotlight. He told the lemons that sweetness could be a trick. Doubt trickled back into the garden. The next day, fewer fruits came to listen. The cucumber brothers stayed by the pond. The sunflower turned her head back to the sky. Even the blueberry looked uncertain. Anna noticed. Her song that morning was quieter, her smile dimmer. She turned to Pip and asked, "Am I doing something wrong?" "No," Pip said gently. "But sometimes when something new begins to shine, the shadows grow restless. That doesn't mean your light isn't real." Anna looked down at her spiky skin. "Maybe I'll always be too different." But Pip shook his little head. "Do you want to know a secret?" he whispered. "Sweetness is never loud. It's hidden, waiting. But once someone tastes it, they never forget." Anna's eyes softened. "But how do I show them?" Pip fluttered his wings. "Maybe it's not enough to sing. Maybe it's time they truly knew you." That evening, Pip gathered his courage. He flew to the oldest tree in the garden, the wisdom fig, who rarely spoke but always listened. Her branches curled like gentle arms, and her bark held stories of 1,000 seasons. Pip bowed before her and said, "Great fig, will you help us? The pineapple princess has a gift, but her truth is being buried beneath fear." The fig tree hummed, her leaves rustling like turning pages. "Then it is time for the garden gathering," she said. "Let all fruits come and taste for themselves." Word spread quickly. A tasting? Of the spiky one? Curiosity bloomed. Even Elderberry raised a wrinkled brow. By moonlight, the garden glowed silver. All the fruits gathered around the ancient fig tree. Anna stood quietly in the center, her leaves trembling ever so slightly. "Tonight," the fig tree announced, "we taste with open hearts. We learn not with our eyes, but with our senses." And with that, a gentle squirrel, trusted by all, approached Anna with care. He asked softly, "May I?" Anna nodded. With a careful paw, the squirrel peeled back a bit of her spiky coat. just enough to reveal the golden fruit inside. A sweet scent filled the air, rich and inviting. The squirrel took one small bite, and his eyes widened. It's the sweetest thing I've ever tasted," he exclaimed. "It tastes like sunshine and lullabies." Gasps rippled through the garden. One by one, others came forward. A curious carrot, a bashful banana, a giggling grape. Each took a tiny taste, and each wore the same look of wonder. "She's sweet," whispered the strawberry. "She's warm," said the plum. "She's not sharp at all," added the lemon. Anna didn't say a word. She just smiled, a smile that glowed from the inside out. Even Elderberry, though reluctant, stepped forward. He took the smallest bite, and for a moment he said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. "Perhaps I judged too quickly." And just like that, the garden changed again. Not because Anna had become different, but because everyone else had opened their hearts. From that night on, the Pineapple Princess wasn't just admired, she was cherished. Her songs became the lullabies of the garden, and her golden sweetness, once hidden, was now the joy of all. But there was more to come still, for Anna's story had only just begun. The morning after the garden gathering, the sun rose with a softness that seemed to carry a song of its own. The breeze was warmer, the dewdrops twinkled brighter, and the birds chirped melodies that skipped across the leaves. Anna stood quietly in her patch of sunlight, her heart still glowing from the night before. She could hardly believe what had happened. After so long of standing alone, she had been seen, tasted, and loved. Pip danced above her, his wings fluttering like petals in the wind. "Anna, did you see them all? The blueberry, the strawberry, even that old plum. They smiled at you. They really smiled." Anna laughed gently, a laugh that sparkled like wind chimes in a breeze. "Yes, it was the first time I felt like I belonged, and not because I changed, but because they looked closer." The garden had indeed changed. Where there had once been whispers of doubt, there were now songs of praise. The fruits and flowers spoke kindly to Anna as they passed. The vines gave her extra space to stretch. Even the bees buzzed around her crown as if it were a royal garden of its own. But with this new warmth came something Anna hadn't expected. Invitations. "Come to our blooming ball this weekend," said the roses. "Would you sing at our evening gathering?" asked the lilies. "We'd love to have you visit our pond," crooned the lotuses. It was all so wonderful, and just a little overwhelming. Anna was used to quiet mornings with Pip, to soft songs and slow days. She had dreamed of friendship, yes, but now everyone wanted a piece of her golden heart. "Maybe I should go to all of them," she told Pip as the two sat beneath the shade of a mango tree. "They've accepted me now. I don't want to disappoint them." Pip fluffed his feathers. "Anna, they love you for your sweetness, not for how much of it you give away. Be gentle with yourself." Anna thought quietly. She had waited so long to be seen, and now that she was, it was hard to say no. So she said yes to every gathering, every visit, every request. She sang under the moonlight at the tulip glade. She helped the honeysuckles plant new seeds. She danced, as best she could, at the blooming ball, where petals spun like ribbons and laughter filled the air. But as the days passed, Anna's golden glow began to dim. Just a little. Her songs grew softer from tiredness. Her crown of green drooped in the afternoons, and though she smiled, her heart began to feel heavy. One morning, Pip landed on her shoulder with concern in his eyes. "You're wilting, Anna." "I'm just tired," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "You've given so much of yourself. Maybe it's time to rest." "But they need me now," Anna replied. "They've come to love me. What if they stop if I stop?" Pip looked into her eyes and said, "The ones who love you truly will never stop." That evening, Anna sat quietly beneath a glowing moon. She closed her eyes and tried to sing, but no melody came. Her heart, once so full, now felt like an empty shell of sweetness given away too quickly. From the shadows, the wise fig tree watched. She had seen this before, the bloom that gives too much without pause. And so she gently bent one of her oldest branches toward Anna and whispered, "Even the sun rests behind the mountains, child. You must rest too." Anna nodded slowly, and for the first time since the garden gathering, she didn't sing. She didn't dance. She didn't greet every fruit and flower. Instead, she rested. She leaned into the earth. She let the sun kiss her slowly. She listened to the wind without trying to match its song. And as she rested, something magical happened. Her color deepened. Her crown stood tall again, and the sparkle returned to her golden skin. Pip chirped happily when he saw her the next morning. "There's my princess again," Anna smiled. "It feels good to just be still. I didn't know how much I needed it." The garden noticed too. When Anna walked through the blooms, she wasn't singing, but the tulips smiled anyway. When she passed the honeysuckle, she didn't stop to help, but they waved their leaves gently. Even the roses, grand and graceful, bowed their heads in understanding. They hadn't loved her just for her sweetness. They loved her because she was her. And just when the garden was settling into its peaceful rhythm once more, a rumble came from beyond the trees. A deep, low sound like the growl of far-off thunder. The ground trembled. Leaves shook. Petals fluttered to the soil. The creatures of the garden looked at one another, eyes wide with wonder and worry. "What was that?" whispered the blueberry. Pip flew high into the sky and circled once before returning. "Something's coming. From the edge of the island." Anna looked toward the horizon, her heart beat steadily beneath her golden skin. She didn't know what was coming, but something told her it would change everything. She stood tall, not with fear, but with a quiet courage, because now she knew who she was, and whatever was on its way, she would face it not alone, but as the Pineapple Princess, sweet, strong, and ready. The sun rose slowly the next morning, as if unsure whether to peek fully into the garden. A silvery mist blanketed the trees, soft and cool against the bright blossoms and sleepy vines. The Garden of Whispers, once peaceful and still, now buzzed with cautious curiosity. Whatever had rumbled the earth the night before was still out there, waiting. Anna stood beneath her favorite tree, her crown of green catching the mist like a veil. Pip circled above, chirping with concern. "I don't like it," he said. "The ground shouldn't growl like that. What if it's a storm, or a big rolling boulder, or a herd of clumsy coconuts?" Anna smiled gently. "We don't know yet, Pip. But storms pass, boulders rest, even coconuts roll away eventually. Let's see what it is before we worry." Despite her calm voice, Anna's heart thumped like a quiet drum. She felt it in her roots. Something new was coming, something different. Just after midday, the garden's answer arrived. The bushes at the far edge of the clearing parted with a soft rustle, and out stepped a creature none of them had seen before. He was tall and leafy, with a head full of waving fronds and a deep orange skin dotted with dark green patches. His eyes, though kind, were heavy, as if he had walked a long way with something heavy in his heart. "I am Pawpaw," he said in a deep, slow voice. "I come from the Southern Grove." The garden held its breath. The Southern Grove? That was far beyond the hummingbird hills and past the babbling banana river. Few ever came from so far. "Why have you come?" asked the fig tree gently. Pawpaw bowed low. "I've come in search of a healer, a sweetness, a voice of golden calm." At this, every eye turned to Anna. She blinked, surprised. "Yes," Pawpaw said. "Word of your songs has reached even the outer groves. My grove is wilting. The soil has gone quiet. The bees have stopped their dance. And the little ones, the baby sprouts, do not grow." Anna looked down, unsure. "But I've never left the garden. I'm not sure what I could do." Pip landed beside her. "But you didn't think you could help here either. And look what happened." The fig tree spoke again, her voice like rustling pages. "Every sweet thing that's ever bloomed began with doubt. If your heart feels the call, dear Anna, follow it." Anna stood still for a moment. The garden she loved was warm and full of friends now. It would be easy to stay, to sing and smile and never leave the safety of her patch. But deep inside, something tugged, like the soft pull of a tide calling her home. "I'll go," she said at last, her voice steady. "If there is a place in need of kindness, I want to help." The garden watched in silence as Anna prepared for her journey. The tulips gave her petals to soften her path. The roses offered drops of perfume to lift her courage. Even elderberry, no longer sour, gifted her a tiny bottle of dew from the first morning after the gathering, a symbol of change. Pip, of course, would come too. And so, with a gentle breeze at her back and the whispers of the garden wrapped around her like a blanket, Anna followed Pawpaw beyond the ferns, past the bluebells, and through the edge of the island that few had crossed. Their journey was slow and quiet. The trees became taller, their leaves whispering in ancient tongues. The air smelled of earth and time. Pip chattered stories to keep spirits high, but Anna mostly listened. Her heart was steady, but her thoughts fluttered. What if she wasn't sweet enough to help? What if the Southern Grove needed more than a song? What if this was too big for one small pineapple princess? One night, as they rested beneath a starlit canopy, Papa told her about his home. "We were once the Garden of Song," he said. "Birds came from far away to listen. But then, the soil dried, the roots curled, and the music faded." Anna closed her eyes and sang, softly, slowly. Her song floated through the trees like a lullaby on a breeze, wrapping the night in calm. Even the stars blinked slower, as if listening. And though they had not yet reached the Southern Grove, Papa wept gently. "It's been so long," he said, "since anything sang back." When the first light of the next morning spilled over the hills, Anna saw it. The Southern Grove. It was quiet. Too quiet. The trees stood tired, their leaves faded and still. The flowers drooped like sleepy heads. Not a single bee buzzed. Not a single bird sang. Papa led her to the center of the grove, where a great stone sat, carved with names and songs from long ago. "This," he said, "is where we used to gather." Anna stepped forward, her heart pounding. The grove felt broken, but beneath that stillness was something else, something waiting. She looked at Pip, she looked at Popo, and then, standing tall with her crown catching the sunlight, Anna closed her eyes and began to sing. It wasn't a grand song. It wasn't loud or fast. It was a lullaby, a tune of comfort and calm, of roots deep in warm earth, of dreams wrapped in sunshine and green. The wind stirred. A single leaf lifted, then another. The trees began to sway ever so slightly, like dancers remembering an old step. A flower bloomed, a tiny sprout stretched, and somewhere in the distance, a bee buzzed once, a quiet note of hope. Anna kept singing, because now she knew sweetness wasn't just in taste, it was in giving, in resting, in sharing, in daring to try again. And in that quiet grove, the Pineapple Princess sang the beginning of a brand new song. The sun stretched gently over the Southern Grove, brushing each leaf and branch with golden light. A hush lingered in the air, but it was not the same silence as before. It was a calm filled with hope, the kind of quiet that happens just before something beautiful begins to grow. Anna stood beneath the tallest tree in the grove, her golden skin shimmering in the soft light, her green crown swaying in the breeze. Around her, the trees no longer looked tired. Their leaves had begun to lift toward the sky. Tiny flowers peeked out from their hiding spots. Even the soil, once dry and cracked, now smelled of life and dreams. Pip fluttered nearby, chirping softly as he watched the change unfold. "It's working," he whispered. "Your song, it's like sunshine for their roots." Anna smiled gently, but her voice was thoughtful. "It's a beginning. Healing takes time, but if they believe, if they listen closely, the grove will sing again." Pawpaw stepped forward, his eyes filled with quiet wonder. "You've brought back something we thought was lost," he said. "You've reminded us how to listen with our hearts." That day, Anna and Pip stayed in the Southern Grove, not to lead, but to nurture. Anna didn't sing loudly. Instead, she hummed soft tunes that drifted through the trees like whispers on the wind. Each note landed gently on leaves and petals, encouraging them to stretch, to bloom, to be brave. The fruits of the grove began to stir from their slumber. A tiny guava sprout peeked from beneath the soil, blinking at the light. A shy jackfruit sapling reached out a single green leaf toward the sun. Even a sleepy tamarind pod swung softly from its branch, listening. But there was one tree that still stood still, a great old papaya, wide and ancient, her bark cracked with time. She hadn't moved since Anna arrived. Her branches drooped low, her fruit hung heavy and dim. "She hasn't spoken in seasons," Papo said quietly. "Not even the bees go near her now." Anna walked slowly to the base of the papaya tree. She placed a gentle leaf against the bark and closed her eyes. She said no words. She simply hummed, a lullaby so soft it felt like the sound of a heartbeat. It was the song of patience, of waiting, of holding on even when it feels like the world has forgotten you. A breeze stirred. The papaya's branches swayed ever so slightly. And then, from above, a single fruit dropped. Not heavy, not bruised, but golden and full. Anna stepped back and smiled. The papaya had spoken. In the days that followed, the grove bloomed brighter. Pip danced through the trees, chirping with joy. The bees returned in gentle spirals. The sprouts grew taller and the flowers opened in bursts of color like tiny suns. Laughter echoed beneath the canopy once more. But soon a new thought began to sprout in Anna's heart. A soft tug, like the pull of a tide she couldn't ignore. "I think it's time to go home," she whispered to Pip one evening as they watched the stars twinkle through the leaves. Pip nodded gently. "The garden will be missing you." "And I miss it too," Anna said, "but I'm glad we came." Papa gathered the grove to say goodbye. "You came to us as a guest," he said, "but you leave as a part of our song." They gave Anna a gift, a tiny sprout in a crystal jar, glowing softly from within. "Plant it in your garden," they told her, "so a piece of our song can grow where you live." With hearts full and footsteps light, Anna and Pip began the journey back to their home. They passed through the dreaming hills, where the clouds rolled lazily across the sky. They danced beside the babbling banana river, where butterflies whispered secrets to the wind. And all along the way, Anna hummed, not just to comfort others, but to soothe herself, to remember, and to carry the songs of the grove back to the place where her own story began. By the time they reached the edge of the Garden of Whispers, the sun had just begun to rise, painting the sky in soft pinks and sleepy gold. The garden had changed, too. New blossoms filled the paths. The fruits stood taller. And in the center of it all, where once Anna had stood alone, now stood a circle of friends, waiting. "She's back," called the blueberries. "She brought something," whispered the daisies. Anna smiled, her eyes shimmering like morning dew. She walked to the heart of the garden and placed the glowing sprout in the earth. The soil welcomed it with a soft sigh. The sprout twinkled once, then settled in with a gentle glow. "What is it?" asked the mangoes. Anna knelt beside it and whispered, "It's a memory of a place that found its song again." And from that day forward, the garden held two songs, one of whispering winds and blooming dreams, and one of deep roots and second chances. The two melodies twined together, rising into the sky like soft ribbons of light. And in the middle of it all, the pineapple princess stood tall and sweet, her crown gleaming in the sun, her heart full of music. But the world was wide, and there were still more places to sing. The garden welcomed Anna home with open arms and rustling leaves. Every fruit, flower, and tree seemed to glow a little brighter now that the pineapple princess had returned. Her presence was like a gentle breeze on a warm day, soothing and steady, carrying with it the promise of kindness and care. The little sprout from the southern grove, now planted in the heart of the garden, had already begun to grow. Its leaves shimmered faintly, catching the light like little mirrors of the sun. The garden gathered around it each morning, listening to Anna's soft songs and watching in quiet wonder as the sprout stretched higher day by day. Life was peaceful again, but Anna, even as she sang and smiled, felt something gentle stirring within her, a quiet tug like a ripple across still water. She began to dream of other gardens, faraway fields, and tiny sprouts that had never heard a song. There was a world beyond her home, full of quiet corners and lonely roots, waiting for the sweetness she carried. One early morning, when the dew still clung to the petals and the bees had just begun to hum, Anna stood at the edge of the garden, gazing into the distance. Pip fluttered down beside her. "You're thinking about it again, aren't you?" Anna nodded slowly. "There are so many places, so many hearts that need a melody." "But this is your home," Pip said softly. "They need you too." "I'll always come back," Anna whispered, "but I think I'm meant to share what I found." That day, Anna gathered the garden together beneath the blooming mango tree. The breeze swirled gently, and the golden sprout from the southern grove shimmered as if it too were listening. "I want to go," Anna said with a smile. "Not because I don't love this place, but because I do, and I want to carry that love into the world." The garden murmured with mixed emotions, surprise, concern, but most of all, admiration. They had seen Anna change the southern grove. They had seen her turn whispers into songs and silence into blooming fields. Now they understood. Her sweetness was not meant to stay in one place. It was meant to spread. The roses stepped forward with velvet petals and wrapped a ribbon of silk around her crown. "To remind you of your roots," they said. The daisies gifted her a pouch of soft seeds. "Plant joy wherever you go." Even the old fig tree bowed her heavy branches and murmured, "The world needs lullabies. Take yours far." And so once more, Anna set off. Not alone, but with love tucked deep in her heart and Pip fluttering at her side. They traveled across wildflower fields that danced in the wind. They crossed silver streams that sang their own watery songs. They walked through sleepy groves where the trees whispered dreams to each other under moonlight. In every place they touched, Anna left behind something gentle. She didn't always sing out loud. Sometimes she simply listened, to lonely branches, to weary petals, to tired soil, and when the time was right, she would hum a tune. In one valley, she found a frightened patch of herbs curled up beneath too much shade. She trimmed the branches above, letting the light fall through, and sang a melody of courage. The herbs stretched gratefully, growing greener than ever before. In another clearing, she discovered a bitter patch of berries who had lost their sweetness after a long, hard storm. She stayed there through 2 full moons, singing gently each night. When she left, the berries were soft and bright once again. Everywhere she went, Anna didn't try to fix. She simply offered her song. And slowly, the world responded. One evening, as Anna and Pip reached the edge of a meadow where the fireflies glowed like tiny stars, they found a group of young saplings gathered around a shallow pond. They were whispering, unsure and afraid. "Do you think we'll ever grow tall?" one asked. "I've never even heard a bee," said another. "What if the world's too big for us?" whispered the smallest. Anna stepped gently into the circle, her golden skin catching the fireflies' glow. She didn't say much, she just sat beside them and began to hum. It was a song of beginnings, of soft rain and deep roots, of how every great tree was once a tiny seed with a single hope. The saplings leaned closer, listening. One by one, they smiled. And that night, under the watchful sky, they grew just a little bit taller. As the days passed, news of the singing pineapple began to spread. Birds carried the melody on their wings. Bees buzzed of a princess with a heart made of gold. Even the stars, it was said, blinked slower when they heard her lullabies. But Anna never sought fame. She didn't sing for applause. She sang for the lonely, the forgotten, the silent corners of the world. And one night, as she and Pip sat beneath a moonlit tree, Anna looked up at the sky and whispered, "Where should we go next?" Pip leaned against her crown, eyes sleepy but smiling. "Wherever there's quiet, that's where your song belongs." And so the pineapple princess closed her eyes, hummed a tune of soft wonder, and drifted into sleep, ready to bring sweetness to a new place. When the sun rose once more, the stars twinkled above like tiny lullabies, each one humming softly in the sky as Anna and Pip rested beneath the branches of an old moon tree. The night was cool and still, and even the breeze tiptoed through the leaves, careful not to disturb the gentle peace that had settled over the meadow. Anna slept with a faint smile on her face, her golden skin glowing softly under the moonlight. Pip nestled in the crook of her crown, his tiny feathers ruffling with each sleepy breath. Around them, the world sighed in slumber, a world that had slowly begun to sing again. When morning came, it arrived on the wings of butterflies. They danced through the air like fluttering petals, their wings painted with soft pastels. Anna opened her eyes slowly and stretched her leafy crown toward the sun. Pip yawned and blinked sleepily. "Good morning," he chirped. Anna looked around. The meadow was lovely, and the saplings they had helped were already growing straighter, taller, more confident. It was time to move forward again. They followed a winding trail lined with sleepy violets and giggling grasshoppers, humming as they went. The sky was a soft blue, with wisps of clouds that looked like drifting dreams. Everything felt peaceful. But as they rounded a gentle bend in the path, they saw something curious. A gate. It wasn't made of wood or vines, but of glimmering stone, smooth and pale, with patterns carved in soft, swirling lines. Flowers grew all around it, but not just any flowers. They glowed faintly, like stardust. Pip blinked. "Have you ever seen anything like this?" Anna stepped closer. She placed one gentle leaf on the stone. It was warm. She felt something hum beneath it. Not quite music, not quite silence, a feeling maybe, like a memory waiting to be remembered. And then the gate slowly opened. Beyond it lay a hidden garden, unlike any Anna had ever seen. The trees were tall and silvery, their leaves translucent like dragonfly wings. The grass was soft and pale blue, and the air sparkled faintly as if dusted with moonlight. Flowers bloomed in slow motion, opening petal by petal like they were shy. And at the center of it all stood a small tree, no taller than Anna, with no fruit, no flowers, and not a single leaf. It looked asleep. Or maybe forgotten. A gentle voice floated through the air. "Welcome, Pineapple Princess." Anna looked around, startled. From behind the silvery trees stepped a figure, an elder tree spirit, tall and graceful, with a crown of blossoms and bark that shimmered like old parchment. Her voice was like wind through reeds, soft and ancient. "I am the keeper of the quiet garden," she said, "and you are the one we've been waiting for." Anna bowed her head politely. "I didn't mean to intrude." "You didn't," the keeper replied with a kind smile. "You were guided here. This garden lives between moments, between breaths, between dreams. Only those with a true song in their hearts may find the path." Pip's eyes widened. "So we're special?" "You are kind," said the keeper, "and kindness is the truest kind of magic." Anna looked at the little tree in the center. "What happened to that one?" The keeper's smile faded. "That is the tree of forgotten dreams. It once bloomed with every hope the world had ever whispered. But as time passed, fewer dreams were believed in, fewer songs were sung, and so it fell asleep." Anna felt her heart ache. She walked slowly toward the little tree, kneeling beside it. "It feels lonely." "It is," said the keeper. "Many come to admire, but none remember how to wake it." Anna reached out and touched its bark. It was cool and still. She closed her eyes and listened, not to the sounds around her, but to the quiet within. And there, faint as a heartbeat, was a tune, a melody she hadn't sung yet. A lullaby meant not for crowds or gardens, but for dreams forgotten too long. She began to hum. It was a song of unopened letters, of stars that blink alone in the sky, of seeds that waited patiently in the dark, a song of things almost lost, but not quite. Her voice wrapped around the tree like a blanket. Pip joined in, his tiny notes rising like sparks. The leaves shivered, the air stilled, and then a single bud appeared, tiny, pale, barely there, but real. The keeper gasped softly. "You remembered the melody." "I didn't know I knew it," Anna whispered. "I just listened." "That's how it works," said the keeper, eyes shining. "The world sings quietly, waiting for someone to hear." From that moment, Anna and Pip stayed in the quiet garden a little while longer. Each day, Anna sang to the sleeping tree, and each day another bud appeared. The garden began to glow more brightly. The silvery leaves whispered again. Even the breeze carried a different hum, a sound of remembering. By the time Anna was ready to leave, the tree of forgotten dreams had grown new branches, each cradling tiny blossoms shaped like stars. Dreams had returned. The keeper gave Anna a gift, a single petal from the tree, tucked in a glass shell. "Carry this with you," she said, "and when you find someone who has forgotten their dream, sing." Anna held it close, her heart glowing with warmth. As she and Pip stepped back through the gate, the path closed gently behind them. The world resumed its normal colors. The breeze carried wildflower scents again. But inside Anna, something had shifted. She now carried not just sweetness, but the melody of memories. And somewhere in the world, more forgotten dreams waited for her song. The road beyond the quiet garden was quiet and wide, winding through hills that shimmered with sunlight and valleys that whispered with the hush of sleeping breezes. Anna walked slowly, the little glass shell tucked gently beneath one of her leafy arms, the petal inside glowing like a soft lantern. Pip fluttered close beside her, his tiny wings creating a calming rhythm in the silence. They didn't speak much as they walked, not because there was nothing to say, but because some feelings were too gentle for words. The memory of the tree of forgotten dreams still danced in Anna's heart, its soft blossoms and sleepy hums staying with her like a lullaby echoing through the clouds. After a while, the hills gave way to a wide open field, golden, dry, and still. There were no flowers, no trees, only soft, dusty grasses that bent in the breeze like tired dancers. Anna paused at the edge of the field. "It feels quiet here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Pip landed on her shoulder and peered into the distance. Too quiet, like the ground is holding its breath. Together, they stepped into the field. Each footfall stirred little puffs of golden dust, and the air shimmered faintly in the warmth. There were no birds, no insects, no songs, just the wind and the hush of something waiting. In the center of the field they found them, a cluster of small, round plants. Not trees, not flowers. They looked like bushes that had curled into themselves, their leaves folded tightly, their colors faded to pale gray. They didn't move, not even when the wind blew. Anna knelt beside the nearest one and placed a gentle hand on its side. It was cold, still, and very, very quiet. Then, to her surprise, she heard it, a tiny voice, not spoken aloud but heard deep inside. "They forgot us." Anna's eyes widened slightly. Who? She whispered. The dreamers? They planted us, but never came back. Pip gasped. They're dream blooms. Anna nodded slowly. She had heard of them only in the oldest songs, special plants that grew from children's wishes, planted when hearts were full of hope. But if those dreams were forgotten, the blooms would sleep forever. She looked at the curled bushes with a tender heart. There were dozens of them, maybe more, all wrapped up in themselves like tiny sighs. Anna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She reached for the song she had carried from the quiet garden, the melody of memory and dreams once left behind, and then she began to hum. Her voice was low and slow at first, a soft echo of lullabies long forgotten. It drifted through the air like a feather, swirling gently around the sleeping blooms. Pip joined her, his notes light as starlight, weaving through Anna's melody like threads of gold, and something began to stir. One by one, the dream blooms shivered. A single leaf unfurled, delicate and pale green, then another and another. Color returned, like paintbrushes dipped in morning light, blues, pinks, yellows, faint at first, then brighter. The field, once silent and dry, began to whisper with tiny voices. I dreamed of building a treehouse. I wanted to fly. I hoped for a friend. I wished to be brave. Each bloom whispered its dream aloud, and Anna's song lifted each one gently into the light. The air shimmered with hope, and for the first time in many seasons, the field began to glow. But not every bloom opened. One in particular, nestled beneath a patch of tall grass, remained tightly curled. Anna noticed it right away, not just because it stayed closed, but because the air around it felt heavy. She knelt beside it and placed her hand gently on its cool, dry leaves. She listened, but there was no whisper, no song, just silence. Pip tilted his head. Maybe it's too far gone. Anna shook her head softly. No dream is ever truly lost, just waiting for the right note. She placed the little glass shell, the one given by the tree of forgotten dreams, beside the sleeping bloom. The petal inside glowed gently, casting a warm light. Then Anna began a new song. It was unlike any she had sung before. It was a melody of loneliness, of tears that fall quietly when no one is watching, of small hands reaching out in the dark. But woven into that sadness was something stronger. Hope. Hope that someone somewhere still remembered, and as she sang, the bloom quivered. Very slowly, a tiny leaf uncurled, then another, and then, with a soft sigh, the bloom opened fully, revealing petals the color of moonlight and memories. Anna smiled through gentle tears. There you are, Pip sniffled, wiping his eyes. You did it, Anna. Again. The field now danced with blossoms, each one a dream once forgotten, now waking, stretching, blooming beneath the morning sun. Anna stood and looked out over them, her heart full. This is what songs are for, she whispered, to remind the world that dreams are still waiting. And as the sun climbed higher into the sky, Anna and Pip began placing tiny flags next to each bloom, each one marked with the word remember. Because every dream, no matter how small, deserved to be remembered. And the pineapple princess, with her song and her sweetness, would carry those dreams with her, wherever she wandered next. The sun drifted across the sky like a sleepy lantern, casting long golden beams over the field of now blooming dreams. Where once there had been silence and forgotten wishes, now there were whispers of hope and color, blooming like laughter. The dream blooms swayed gently, their petals catching the light, their roots reaching deep into the earth, stronger now with every remembered dream. Anna stood quietly at the heart of the field, her leafy crown swaying with the wind, her golden skin softly glowing. Around her, the once dull world had come alive. Birds had returned, fluttering and singing as they built nests among the low bushes. Butterflies spun in slow spirals above the flowers, their wings glittering like gentle memories. The breeze carried a scent of sweetness, not just from the blooms, but from something deeper. Something like wonder. Pip circled above her, doing soft loops in the sky before landing gently on her shoulder. He looked down at the blooming field and let out a slow, satisfied sigh. They remember now, he said quietly. Anna gave a slow nod. They do, and now they can grow. They stayed a while longer, not to sing, not to plant, but simply to be. Anna knew that the dreams would need to take root on their own now. Her song had helped awaken them, but their future would grow from the hearts that once planted them. As they prepared to leave the field behind, the blooms began to glow faintly once more. Not in sadness, but in gratitude. Each blossom bowed slightly in the breeze, their leaves rustling like tiny thank yous. And one by one, they whispered their dreams aloud, as if giving Anna a parting gift. I want to paint the stars. I hope to build something that makes the world smile. I dream of dancing with the rain. I wish to never forget what it feels like to hope. Anna closed her eyes and tucked those dreams gently into her heart, like soft feathers in a nest. As they walked on, the field behind them glowed a little longer, a light that would guide anyone who wandered too far from their wishes. Beyond the dream field, the path led through a grove of tall golden reeds that whispered with every step. The sky above had softened into a quiet evening hue, and the clouds were brushed with lavender and rose. Soon, the path grew narrower and the trees taller. The ground beneath their feet became damp and soft, as if the earth was sighing with every step. A gentle mist rolled in, curling around their ankles like a sleepy cat. Then they heard it, not a voice, not a song, but something older, a hum, a rhythm, like the heartbeat of the land itself. Anna paused and tilted her head. It's coming from ahead. As they stepped forward, the trees parted to reveal a clearing. In its center stood a pond, round and still, with water so clear it mirrored the sky. Around the pond grew thick mosses and quiet ferns, and floating gently on the surface were tiny blossoms that glowed with soft light, pulsing in time with that steady hum. It's beautiful, Pip whispered, his voice full of awe. They approached the pond carefully. Anna knelt at its edge and reached her hand toward the water. The hum grew louder, not in sound, but in feeling, like warmth rising from the ground into her chest. And then the pond spoke, not with words, not even with whispers, but with memories. Suddenly, Anna could see them, scenes rippling across the surface, a child planting a dream under a night sky, a mother humming a lullaby to a sleepy seed, a lonely heart pressing a hope into the soil, all the wishes and dreams, all the songs and sorrows, all the sweetness of the world that had been poured quietly into the earth over time. This was the pond of echoing hopes. It did not speak aloud. It listened. It remembered. And when someone worthy arrived, someone whose heart carried not just sweetness but songs of healing, it shared what it had kept safe. Anna watched the memories swirl and shimmer. Some were joyful, some were tender, and some were full of gentle sadness, but all of them were precious. Then, without knowing quite why, Anna began to sing. It was not the same song she had sung in the southern grove, not the one she had hummed in the quiet garden, not even the lullaby she'd carried through the field of forgotten dreams. This song was for the pond. It was a melody of memories, of holding on when it's hard, of whispering into the silence, of trusting that even the quietest hopes still matter. It was a promise to remember, to carry stories, to guard the gentle things. The blossoms on the pond pulsed brighter. The water shimmered, and from the center of the pond, something rose, a single pearl-like seed, wrapped in a soft glow. Anna reached out and took it. As soon as her fingers touched it, she felt warmth rush through her. Not just warmth from the pond, but from every hope, every voice, every story it had kept safe. She did not need to ask what it was. She knew. It was the seed of echoing hopes, the pond's final gift, a seed that could grow only in the soil of someone who truly listened, someone who understood that dreams were more than wishes. They were roots, and roots needed care. Anna placed the seed gently inside the pouch with the other gifts she had gathered along her journey. Then she bowed her head toward the pond, not to say goodbye, but to say thank you. As she turned from the clearing and stepped once more into the world beyond, the song of the pond continued behind her, low and steady, a heartbeat in the earth, and with each step she took, Anna carried it forward, the pulse of old dreams and new beginnings, echoing in time with her own sweet song. Night had begun to fall, gently wrapping the world in deep shades of indigo and blue. The stars blinked softly into view, scattering across the sky like tiny lanterns watching from above. Anna and Pip walked slowly now, their steps quiet, not from tiredness, but from a peaceful calm that settled around them like a lullaby. They had walked through gardens blooming with joy, fields whispering with dreams, ponds echoing with memory. And in every step, Anna had gathered something, not just gifts or seeds, but stories. Each place, each voice, each quiet corner of the world had offered her a song, and now her heart was full of melodies. In her satchel, she carried them gently, a sprout from the southern grove, strong and brave, a glowing petal from the tree of forgotten dreams, a whispering flag from the dream bloom field, a seed from the pond of echoing hopes. Each item held not just magic, but meaning. The trail turned into a soft forest path where fireflies lit the way and owls blinked from high branches. The trees leaned in gently, as if listening, and the wind carried the soft hum of Anna's quiet tune. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was the kind of song that wrapped around you like a blanket, warm and sure. And then the trees opened once more, revealing the garden of whispers. Home. Anna paused at its edge. It looked the same, yet different. Brighter, perhaps, softer. Like a place that had missed her and held its breath until she returned. The little sprout from the southern grove, now growing taller in the center of the garden, glowed brighter when it saw her. The other fruits and flowers stirred, their leaves and petals reaching toward her in welcome. She stepped inside, and the entire garden seemed to exhale, a sigh of joy, of reunion, of belonging. Pip flew ahead, calling out softly, "She's back." The daisies rustled their petals. The strawberries glistened with morning dew. Even the roses bent their proud heads with gentle smiles. Anna walked to the heart of the garden. There, beneath the mango tree where she had once shared her first songs, she opened her satchel and knelt on the warm soil. One by one, she took out each treasure. She planted the glowing petal, and from it, a silver vine began to grow, curling gently toward the sky. She laid the flag from the dream field beside the southern grove sprout, and the two seemed to recognize each other, humming softly. She placed the seed of echoing hopes deep in the soil, pressing it down with care, and the earth responded with a golden shimmer. Then Anna sat quietly. She didn't speak. She didn't sing. She simply listened. And in that silence, something extraordinary happened. The garden began to sing back, not with voices or words, but with its own kind of music. The rustle of leaves, the buzz of bees, the gentle ripple of water in the pond. All of it joined together in a soft, sweet harmony, rising into the night like a lullaby for the stars. Anna closed her eyes and let it wash over her. She wasn't just the pineapple princess now. She was something more. She was a keeper of dreams, a collector of quiet songs, a friend to all things gentle and waiting. And the garden, her garden, had become more than a home. It was now a place where stories bloomed, where lost things were remembered, and where every small, sweet dream had a place to grow. The night deepened, the stars blinked slowly, and the moon watched from above, full and bright. Aina lay down in the soft grass, Pip curled beside her, and the garden cradled them both like a lullaby made of earth and air and song. Above them, the sky shimmered. Within them, their hearts glowed. And all around them, the world was full of quiet magic, blooming gently into forever.